There comes a moment in every life when the greatest enemy is not out there, it's within. Not the critic on the outside, but the silent voice that whispers, stay where it's safe. That voice is fed by patterns, and most of them are poison. Repetition is comfort, but comfort kills growth. How many days have you lived on repeat? Wake up, drift, scroll, react, survive, repeat. That is not a life. That is a loop. And loops do not lead to legacy. They trap you in a mediocre version of yourself while convincing you this is the best it gets. Nothing new grows in old soil. You cannot plant greatness in routines designed for average results. If you want a new life, you must interrupt the old one. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. Now. Repetition is the invisible trap. It lures you in with its softness, its predictability, its false sense of safety. Waking up at the same time, thinking the same thoughts, responding to the same challenges in the same way, all under the illusion of progress. But in reality, you're just spinning in place. The danger of repetition lies in its ability to disguise itself as stability. It pretends to be structure, but too often it becomes a prison. When life becomes one long loop, you stop living and start existing. You trade your potential for patterns, and before you realize it, you've built a routine so comfortable it suffocates your future. Comfort feels good. That's why we choose it. It's easy, it's warm, it doesn't demand anything from us. But that's the problem. Growth is not born in easy. Greatness never lives in warm places. Every person who has ever achieved anything extraordinary had to make a choice. Stay in the familiar or step into the fire of the unknown. And that fire always burns at first. It burns away your excuses. It burns away your need to be perfect. It burns away your attachment to who you were yesterday. But that fire also forges strength. It builds resilience. It unlocks levels of yourself you didn't know existed, and none of that happens without disrupting the pattern. The repetition you cling to might be the very thing holding you back. It's the same morning routine, the same job, the same reactions to adversity, the same thoughts cycling through your mind. They don't challenge you. They don't stretch you. And if you're not being stretched, you're not growing. If you want a different life, you can't keep living the same day over and over again. You can't become someone new while acting like the old version of you. Growth requires change, and change is always uncomfortable. That's the price. That's the toll you pay at the gate of transformation. Comfort is the enemy of achievement. The moment you get too comfortable is the moment you stop reaching. When you are too relaxed, you're not alert. And when you're not alert, you miss opportunities. You stop preparing, you stop pushing, you settle. And settling is a silent killer, not of the body, but of the soul. It kills dreams quietly. You won't even hear it. One day you just wake up and realize years have passed and you've barely moved. That's why you must challenge the cycle, break the loop, interrupt your comfort before it becomes your cage. Force yourself to do what you resist. Wake up earlier. Speak when you'd normally stay silent. Move when you'd rather sit. Risk when you'd rather retreat. Because in those moments, in those uncomfortable, unfamiliar, unfiltered moments, that's where growth lives. That's where change begins. And the life you want, the version of you you're chasing, is hiding behind the walls of your repetitive comfort. Burn those walls down. Breakthroughs are not accidents. They don't happen while you're repeating the same actions, thinking the same thoughts, and walking the same path every single day. They arrive the moment you disrupt the cycle that's been keeping you stuck. Every major shift in your life, every evolution of self, every leap forward, it all begins when you finally do something different, something uncomfortable, something that doesn't match who you've been but points toward who you want to become. And that something is usually a broken pattern. Most people live their lives asleep inside their own routines. They think they're making choices, but in truth they're running on autopilot, driven by habits they never questioned and beliefs they never chose. They react the same way to challenges. They fold under pressure the same way. They wake up each day and unknowingly replay the same internal script. I can't. It's too late. What if I fail? And then they wonder why nothing changes. But change is not a mystery. It's a pattern interruption. You cannot break through the walls in your life if you keep using the same tools that build them. A breakthrough isn't about discovering something new. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you. The habits that made sense 5 years ago might now be the very things limiting you. The people you once needed may now be anchors instead of wings. The comfort zones that once protected you are now cages quietly holding you back. To break through, you must be willing to shatter the old, even if you don't yet know what the new looks like. That's the essence of courage, taking the step before the path is clear. Disrupting patterns is not easy. The mind craves familiarity. It wants to stick to what it knows, even if what it knows is pain, fear, or mediocrity, because at least it's predictable. But breakthroughs never come from predictable places. They come when you say no more to the life you've outgrown. They come when you wake up and decide that how things have been is not how they must continue. They come when you stop asking for permission to evolve. The world doesn't reward repetition. It rewards reinvention. If you want to rise, you have to break your own rhythm. Do what you've been avoiding. Say what you've been suppressing. Walk away from what's easy and walk toward what's real. And it won't feel good at first. Growth never does. But just beyond that discomfort, just on the other side of the unfamiliar, is your next level. That version of you keep imagining, they already exist. But you'll never meet them if you keep living like the current you is the final version. So when the world feels stuck, when your progress stalls, when life starts to feel like a loop, don't look outward. Look inward. Look at the pattern and then break it. Because that's where the power is. That's where the breakthrough begins. It's easy to believe that who you are is written in stone, that your habits define you, that your patterns are permanent, that your personality is fixed. But that's not truth. That's conditioning. You were not born with your current habits. You built them step by step, choice by choice, over time. And just as you built them, you can break them. You can replace them. Because who you are is not determined by what you've repeatedly done in the past. Who you are is determined by the choices you make in the present. Your habits may describe your history, but they do not define your future. The power has never been in the habit. It's always been in the decision behind it. Every action begins with a decision. Even inaction is a decision. You chose to hit snooze. You chose to scroll instead of study. You chose to stay quiet when you should have spoken up. Those were just habits. They were micro-decisions. And the truth most people avoid is that the life they're living is simply the accumulation of thousands of tiny decisions made daily. And people say, I can't change. What they really mean is, I don't want to face the discomfort that change requires. But change doesn't require you to become someone else overnight. It asks for one thing, a different decision. Today, not next week, not when you're inspired. Now, because the moment you realize you can choose again, you reclaim your power. You take back control from the patterns that have been running your life without your permission. Not stuck because of your habits. You're stuck because you've forgotten that you can choose something else. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to override years of repetition. It's hard to act in opposition to what feels automatic. But difficulty is not impossibility. Just because something is hard doesn't mean you're not capable. In fact, difficulty is the signal that you're headed toward growth. The very resistance you feel is the gate you need to push through. Every decision is a vote for the person you want to become. You can vote for your comfort or you can vote for your calling. You can vote for your limits or you can vote for your potential. And no one else can make that decision for you. Your life is not a script written by your past. It's a story being written by your current decisions. Right now, in this moment, you are writing the next chapter. I would say, you are not your habits. You are the thinker before the thought, the chooser before the action. That means you are free. Free to pivot, to rewire, to rebuild. No matter how many times you've chosen wrong, you can still choose right. And that one decision, that courageous, intentional decision, can begin a ripple effect that changes everything. It always starts there. One decision, one shift, one new direction. That's how transformation begins. Progress is not a gift. It is not handed to you because you want it. And it doesn't arrive just because you're tired of being stuck. Progress must be earned. It demands something in return. And that something is pain. Not the kind of pain that breaks you, but the kind that builds you. The pain of letting go. The pain of pushing forward when every part of you wants to retreat. The pain of stepping into a version of yourself you've never been before without knowing if you'll be ready when you get there. Change is uncomfortable. That's the reason most people avoid it. They wait for it to feel good. They wait for it to feel natural. But real change never feels natural at first. It feels awkward. It feels foreign. It feels wrong because your old self is fighting to survive. That version of you that found safety in procrastination, in excuses, in the familiar, it doesn't want to die quietly. It will fight, scream, and cling to every old pattern just to stay alive. And that internal war, that's the pain of change. That's what it feels like to grow. Growth is not linear. It's not clean or pretty. It's messy and it hurts. You'll doubt yourself. You'll question if it's worth it. You'll miss the comfort of the old, even when the old was destroying you. That's what makes progress so powerful. It requires you to walk through discomfort with no guarantee, except this. If you stay committed, you will not be the same. You will be better, stronger, wiser. But you don't get there without paying the price, and the price is pain. People often talk about success like it's a destination, but success is not a place, it's a path. A brutal, beautiful path paved in sacrifices that asks for your patience, your discipline, your willingness to be misunderstood, to be alone, to fail and still show up again. And every time you do, every time you push through instead of giving in, you carve a new part of yourself, That's what progress looks like. It's internal before it's external. It's invisible before it becomes undeniable. The pain of change is not punishment. It's preparation. It's the fire that burns away weakness and leaves behind only what's real. Without that fire, you don't evolve. You remain. And remaining is not living. Remaining is not growing, it's settling for less than what you were built to become. There is a cost to progress, yes, but there is a far greater cost to standing still. The pain of regret will always outweigh the pain of change. So if you feel discomfort, good. It means you're in motion. It means you're rewriting the story. Embrace it. Sit with it. Push through it. Because progress doesn't come wrapped in comfort. It arrives wrapped in challenge. And only those willing to endure the pain of change will ever experience the power of becoming something greater. There's a version of you that you haven't met yet. Stronger, sharper, more focused, more fulfilled. That version doesn't exist in your imagination. It's real, but it's not found in comfort, and it's not reached by accident. It lives on the other side of consistent, deliberate action. The only path that takes you there is discipline. That's what separates people who live with regret from those who live with purpose. Discipline is the line between potential and progress. The mistake people make is thinking they need to be in the mood to take action. They wait for the perfect energy, the perfect mindset, the perfect environment. But greatness doesn't come from perfect moments. It comes from repeated effort. The highest version of you doesn't wake up by chance. It's built in silence. It's built when you say no to distractions. It's built when you choose responsibility over excuses. It's built one day, one task, one decision at a time. Discipline isn't a punishment. It's a gift you give yourself. It's proof that you value your future more than your impulses. And no is not always glamorous. It's early mornings, it's late nights, it's doing what's necessary when you'd rather do what's easy. But it pays. Every time you choose discipline, you lay another brick on the bridge to the life you say you want. And eventually that bridge becomes strong enough to carry you across. There will be days when discipline feels heavy. Days when your mind tries to convince you to quit. That's when it matters most. Anyone can move forward when it's easy. But real transformation happens when you push through resistance. That's when your current self begins to fade and your highest self begins to rise. You become more than your mood. You become more than your circumstances. You become someone unstoppable. The truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need better conditions. You need better consistency. The life you dream of isn't waiting for a miracle. It's waiting for your discipline. It's waiting for you to get serious, to stop negotiating with excuses, to show up no matter how you feel, because feelings are fleeting, but discipline is forever. It carries you when nothing else does. It's the silent engine behind every champion, every leader, every person who changed their life, and it will do the same for you if you commit. Most people waste precious time waiting for a feeling. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel inspired. They wait for some magical wave of motivation to move them into action. But here's the truth. That feeling rarely shows up. And when it does, it disappears just as fast. The people who win, the ones who rise, build, create, and lead, don't wait for motivation. They understand a powerful truth. Motivation is not a starting point. It's a byproduct. It's not the cause of action, it's the result of it. Winners don't chase motivation. They manufacture momentum. Momentum is built, not found. It starts with the movement, with action, with doing the thing before you feel like doing the thing. Because the very act of starting, even when it's small, even when it's imperfect, creates energy. That energy builds confidence. That confidence fuels belief, and belief ignites motivation. That's how the cycle works. But it starts with a spark. That spark is action, always. Waiting for motivation is the fastest way to stay stuck. It convinces you that the problem is your mindset, when really the problem is your inaction. Nothing changes until something moves. And the move doesn't have to be massive. It just has to happen. Winners understand the power of tiny, consistent steps. They don't underestimate the value of showing up, especially on the hard days. In fact, it's how they separate themselves. When others give in to laziness, excuses, and emotions, winners lean into routine, commitment, and execution. If you only work when you're inspired, you won't get very far. Inspiration is inconsistent. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you demand through daily effort. The strongest minds are the ones that can act despite emotion. Not because they don't feel resistance, but because they've trained themselves to move anyway. And every time they do, they gain ground, not just in results, but in identity. They stop being the person who waits and become the person who acts. Momentum is your greatest ally, but it doesn't show up at your doorstep. You create it by showing up again and again, no matter how you feel. You don't need to run the full race today. Just take the first step. Build something small, then keep stacking. And now here we are in St. Petersburg, looking down the tunnel at Cape Cod into the maze of stereo that will bring onto line what material benefit? Stack action on effort. Stack discipline on doubt. And soon what started as struggle becomes strength. What felt heavy becomes habit. That's momentum. The force that turns effort into ease and goals into reality. Winners don't hope they'll get there. They build the machine to take them there. They don't wait for the perfect time. They create progress in imperfect moments. They take control of their energy by controlling their actions. And once that engine of momentum starts turning, it becomes unstoppable. Not because it's easy, but because it's earned. Earn yours. Don't wait to feel like moving. Move. And let the feeling catch up. So here's the truth that echoes through every word, every line, every idea we've explored. Your life will not change until you do. Patterns are powerful, but they are not permanent. You have the power to break them. You have the strength to step beyond comfort, to disrupt what's familiar, and to rebuild yourself from the inside out. But that transformation doesn't come by wishing, waiting, or hoping. It comes by doing, by choosing the pain of growth over the ease of routine, by replacing reaction, by trading temporary comfort for lasting strength. You are not your past. You are not your habits. You are your decisions. And every single day, you're either reinforcing the pattern that holds you back or building the bridge that sets you free. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Manufacture your momentum. Create your change. Force yourself to break the pattern, because the moment you do, the real you finally begins to rise. The next version of you is waiting. Momentum.